Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Konnect Conversations. Hope you all are doing well. Today, we have with us someone whose authority in banking technology management cannot be emphasized enough. A veteran with over 15 years of experience in BFSI, he has worked across banking and fintech industry encompassing product, innovation, business, and project management. He has led a strategic business unit managing products, technology, sales, and sales operations for one of the largest payments fintech in the country and is now leading product function for the company to create a holistic fintech offering payments, collections, issuance, and credit solutions to its customer. Belonging to Bhopal, he is an able team leader who is experienced in managing product innovation and new business initiatives with exposure to offline and online merchant payments, prepaid card products, transaction banking, and electronic banking products while working with big wigs like IDBI Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, to name a few. A very warm welcome to Mr. Ankit Bhatnagar, Head of Product and Engineering at Mswipe Technologies Private Limited. Hello, sir. Welcome to MT Connect, and thank you for being a part of Konnect Conversations.
Thanks, Antra. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, our pleasure, sir. So we will begin with talking about your academic background, sir, like where you did your schooling from, which actually helped you start your way to your profession. If you can tell a bit about your background.
So, Antra, my father was a government officer in state government Madhya Pradesh.
Okay.
So he usually had a transferable job. I had the opportunity to study across various cities in Madhya Pradesh. So I did my schooling in Bhopal. I have studied in Ujjain, Jabalpur, to name few cities. And then I completed my engineering from Bhilai. When I did my engineering, Bhilai was part of Madhya Pradesh. It was undivided Madhya Pradesh. Right. So now today it is Chhattisgarh. And, post completing my engineering, I did my post-graduation in bank technology management from an institute named Institute of Development and Research in Banking Technology, Hyderabad.
Okay.
Now, this is an institute by Reserve Bank of India and specializes in technology support to Reserve Bank.
Okay.
Right. So my education has been both engineering and MBA. And because I specialize in banking technology, I chose to be in this domain. Got opportunity to work with the IDBI as a campus placement. Now, it was a public sector bank. I worked for about 3 years with IDBI before moving to a private sector bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank. I worked for around 10 years with Kotak Mahindra Bank before taking plunge into the fintech segment.
Right. So, sir, you are a hardcore fintech professional, and this is recognized as one of the fastest growing sector in our country these days. So if you can throw some light on what exactly the term fintech means for the benefit of our viewers, how old is the concept and where do you see it heading in the next 5 years, if you can give us an idea.
So, Antra, fintech is technology services in financial domain. Today we have various sector-specific technology companies. So we have companies which work in the education domain, and that's called edutech. You have companies which work in insurance domain, called insurtech, right? You have technology companies contributing to agriculture, called agritech. Now, similarly, technology companies who build products around financial services are called fintech.
Okay.
And this can be any financial service. So today, if you see banking, it consists of your savings product, your account management services, or current account product, or payment services, transaction banking, wholesale business. Now, any technology company contributing to a technology product in one of these service domains is part of the fintech industry.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not new per se. So you must have heard about large payment processors like Visa and MasterCard of the world.
Right.
And Visas and MasterCard have been in this industry for now over 2 to 3 decades, right? And these were the classic examples of fintechs which started working in the technology domain in the banking segment. But yeah, it has been recent that you have seen a lot of startups which have come in the fintech domain. Largely because, banks traditionally are involved in account management services, though they are focused on providing service to customers. And then the core for them is not technology. And that is where they look out for partners or players who are experts in technology and can solve their needs related to technology and provide them new products in the domain. So this is where fintechs have contributed to this segment. And because as the technology grew, you see a lot of innovations being done across financial service products, and then banks adopting them from these service providers called fintechs.
Okay, wonderful stuff. So, sir, you worked for Kotak Mahindra Bank from the year 2007 to 2016, which you previously mentioned, and you also rose to the position of being its vice president. And during your tenure, you were instrumental in launching of various major bank schemes like Kotak Samriddhi, Kotak All Pay, also online VAT payments for Kotak customers in 6 states, to name a few. So what do you think are the kind of challenges that banks generally face that they have to come up with new schemes on a regular basis? What do you think are those challenges?
So, Antara, I was very lucky to work across departments in Kotak Mahindra Bank. You know, I started my career in banking in the retail technology space with IDBI Bank. I also worked for their insurance arm called IDBI Fortis. Now this is IDBI Federal Life Insurance company. Before moving to Kotak, where I again started my career with retail banking, where I was focused in all digital banking products. So worked to start the payment gateway business for the bank, was managing the internet banking, and also launched the mobile banking for Kotak Mahindra. And then I moved to wholesale business, which is the the corporate vertical of banking, and work with large corporates and some new age fintechs, to name Flipkart and your Indigo as few. And then also had opportunity to work in government business space for Kotak. Bank as matures, you see that there are a lot of requirements which customers come up with. Today, you see there is a time for connected banking, where everybody wants to have all their services embedded directly into their banking account. If I talk about retail as an individual, you want one platform which will be able to service all your savings need, all your payments need, all your investment needs. Even if you want to collect money from somebody, so your collection needs. At the same time, not just this, it should also then be embedded into your shopping needs, e-commerce. Right. So when you see this now then requires banks to innovate around financial technology products. And this is where they look for services where everything cannot be done in-house, because banking is a vast domain. And we have just been talking about the retail banking space, but banks also service enterprise customers. Again, enterprise is divided into various types of entities, which may be private limited, public limited. Now, all these customers have different needs for themselves. In the wholesale business, if you see, you have requirements for making vendor payouts. You need to make salary payouts. You need to do collections from your customers, and this may be domestic collections or collections internationally, right? And also, most of your customers would dictate how they would prefer to pay money. Some would be interested to make a deposit. Somebody would be interested to make an electronic transfer. Some may be interested to write a check, right? Now, as a customer, my requirement would be that my bank facilitates collections across, and then say provide a single statement, a single visibility, a single credit, a platform for me to manage all these, where I don't need to invest energies, right? So when you look, there are so many different requirements with which customer comes up and can be solved via technology. But then, as I said, that banks are not in the profession of providing technology or developing software. So this is where then they work with entities like Fintechs, which then provide them this solutions to cater to various requirements of their customers.
Right. Understood. Okay. So, sir, you switched from banking to financial services in the year 2016 when your tenure with Kotak Mahindra ended, and you co-founded Peso Fintech, which is a startup company focused on providing simplified payment and cash management solutions. So, like you just mentioned, is that the only reason? Like, do you find that banks lack in offering fintech-related services, or there is some other or various reasons that number of such companies are, emerging and creating success stories, like you just mentioned in previous answer?
So yes, Antara, you rightly said. One is that banks not necessarily lack, but depends upon the fintechs to provide those technology products. So in that way, they are distributors of those technology solutions to their customers. They themselves are one of the customers for these fintechs, okay, for their financial products. And then they help them bring these customers on the technology platforms provided by fintechs. But at the same time, today it is time where there are multiple players in this domain. Earlier, there were very limited banks. There were very limited entities who serviced in the financial services domain. And because these were not connected via technology, these were distributed and used to operate in their own geographies. Okay, but now today, if you see, time has come when technology has consolidated, made entities borderless. And this is where you see a lot of small banks have come together and are now merged to become larger entities, right? Similarly, there may be a technology, a financial service provider in one state, which is now increasing its footprints across the country. And at the same time, then there are various financial service providers which are starting across locations and geographies. Another interesting thing these fintech players are providing is consolidating this or aggregating the services of these financial service providers and then bringing onto one platform. And you see a lot of financial fintechs have come up in this space. Let's talk about Paisa Bazaar. It's one platform which has aggregated various issuers of credit, right? So similarly, you have companies like Mswipe, where I currently work. It's aggregator in the space of payments, which has aggregated payment instruments across credit cards, across debit cards to come onto one platform. Now, similarly, you have aggregation opportunities available in, other segments of finance. So we have card issuance, which is being done. So you have seen a lot of, fintechs who are today issuing cards, and these cards can, in the backend, have any of your service provider, which may be serviced by a bank or a new age, credit service provider. So as we are seeing the growth in technology, and as we are seeing the growth in players, there are various opportunities which the market throws for the technology companies to play a role. And these are then serviced by financial service providers. So as I was telling you, so it's not necessarily banks not being able to provide those services, those technology solutions that fintech are playing that role. No, but there are various interesting use cases which are now developing beyond banking. Okay, and further interesting thing in fintech space, because this is closely related to banking and finance segment, which is a regulated market by Reserve Bank of India. Our regulator also regularly comes up with various directions for the economy, for the market, to throw those opportunities. To give you an example, Reserve Bank has recently come up with a circular on account aggregators. Now, account aggregators means that there can be players who can be non-bank and can provide technology solution which can link various accounts of a customer on a one platform to give him consolidated view of his financial strength across financial institutions. So you can have a bank account in State Bank of India, you can have a bank account with a private sector bank like Kotak Mahindra or ICICI Bank. You may be holding your DMAT with Sher Khan, okay, and you may be holding similarly some deposit accounts in some other by some other service provider. But then you can have a consolidated view which can be provided by an entity called account aggregator, right? Similarly, a few years back, Reserve Bank came up with the directions for prepaid instrument service providers. Again, these can be non-bank entities who can provide you a financial product, which may be in form of a card instrument. where you can load funds and use for all your payment needs, and need not be a bank account, right?
Right.
So those are some of the opportunities which a regulator also brings to this ecosystem, where then fintechs can play a role.
Right. Understood. Wonderful, sir. So, sir, continuing in the same spirit, what actually inspired you to, come into a startup field? Like you had a nice tenure you had a nice, secure, successful career with the banks, and then you suddenly switched to, when you founded Spaceso, you switched to a startup field. In your entrepreneurship role, you started a business from scratch, and then you also achieved the milestone of getting acquired by Mswipe Technologies. Within 3 years of inception, which is a big achievement. So how exciting has the whole journey been? Like, what were the challenges you faced? What were your accomplishments? What were the learnings? Tell us a bit about it.
So, Antra, as I mentioned that, opportunities come, and in my last role with Kotak Mahindra Bank, I was heading innovation for wholesale business. And that's where I was working with the market players like National Payments Corporation of India. And they were bringing up a solution called Unified Payment Interface, UPI, which you call.
Right.
And I had visibility at that time itself in 2015 that when the wallets were very popular in the market, that we required a interoperable ecosystem, which cannot be started by bank, individual bank. And that's where today, if you see, you have various players operating in this space like Google Pay, Phone Pay, which are non-banking entities providing this service. Peso was one of the first fintech which recognized this opportunity, and we decided to work in the open network space where this can the payments or collections could be done not on a closed loop network but on a open rails like UPI. And since this could not be done within the bank as a entrepreneurship, I took the opportunity to do it outside the bank as an entrepreneur. So that what was the motivation. So largely, I will say that the market conditions or the domain, the innovations that were happening in the domain where I was operating within the bank, that presented me an opportunity to bring up a startup in that domain, and that's why I took that opportunity.
Right.
It has been very exciting. The space in which we are operating was largely form factorless. So when I say form factorless, you did not require any terminal or any special hardware to collect payments at merchant outlets through UPI. Despite at that time, hardware was one of the most popular mechanism to collect payments, and it still is. But what I believe was that India still has some time to mature and become a complete formless payment ecosystem, where you do not require a form factor like card or specialized hardware like POS, and still both needs to go hand in hand, which is digital payments on mobility, and at the same time, then you have collections of payments working on card-based instrument over hardware, and that's where Mswipe, which was one of the largest service provider in the POS space, which in 2019 itself had 5 lakh plus terminalized merchants, which today are close to 6.75 lakh terminalized merchants. We decided to participate with them in this ecosystem to form payment products across spectrum, which included both mobility and based on form factor, which is card. And that's why we decided to go with the Mswipe.
Wow, wonderful, sir. Very exciting. Before we leave you, sir, lastly, before we end, koi word of advice, sir, for the youngsters and the students who are looking to enter into the fintech or banking technology field? Kaise proceed karna hai? What are the expectations? What do they expect? A bit of an advice that you can give from your end.
So advice to students, from my side is, I see today youngsters are very excited about the opportunities which startups offer. My advice to them would be that to directly, instead of directly starting, they should definitely first start their career with corporates, and at least for 5 to 6 years, they should work in a corporate environment. Further, I would advise that if somebody is really interested and excited about entrepreneurship and wants to do this in long term, he should at least work in one large corporate and one startup. The working environment is very different in a startup, but at the same time, it is also very different in a established corporate. Now, when you work in both the types of environment, that prepares you, that gives you an understanding of how you should manage that transition. Okay, when you start from a small startup to then scale up and establish a strong and large corporate. So advice would be that you should be open, you should be excited about a real problem to solve, rather than just motivated by starting something. Okay, so and while you are doing this, you should also expose yourself to a proper working environment and working culture before you then take a plunge to set up something on your own.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your word of advice. And thank you so much, sir, for taking out time and sitting with us, sharing your experiences. It was wonderful, eye-opening for me. And I'm sure all our viewers must have benefited from all your experiences and all that you shared with us. So thank you so much again.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. To all our viewers, if you have any sort of question or query for Mr. Bhatnagar, you can write to us at info@mtkonnect.com, or you can also add your comment or message on any of our social media platforms. We will get back to you with his answers. And also we would be linking his social media contacts in the article below. You can connect with him over there as well. And thank you for tuning in. We will see you in our next conversation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you.